All coincidences with real people are random. If they tell you that this is not the case, ignore them. The Brown family, consisting of parents John and Lisa and their two children, Sarah and Michael, moved to a large country house to start a new life away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The house was majestic, surrounded by dense forests and beautiful blooming gardens. At first glance, it seemed like the perfect place for a happy family. On the first day, everyone was busy unpacking their things and setting up their rooms. The house was spacious, with high ceilings and numerous windows offering a stunning view of the surrounding nature. But from the very beginning, Lisa started noticing oddities. She was sure that the hallways seemed longer than she remembered, and some rooms were arranged differently than they had been the day before. "John, have you noticed that the house seems to be changing?" Lisa asked her husband that evening, as the children were already asleep. "I think it's just the exhaustion from the move," John reassured her. "Tomorrow will be a new day, and everything will be in its place." Lisa nodded, but the feeling of unease did not leave her. Something was wrong with this house. Several weeks passed, and Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that the house was continuing to change. One morning, she discovered a new door in the hallway that hadn't been there before. Intrigued, she opened it and walked into a completely new room filled with antique furniture and dusty books. "John, come here. Look at this," she called to her husband. John came and inspected the room. "How could I have missed this before?" he wondered. "We've already explored the entire house." "I'm certain this room wasn't here before," Lisa insisted. "The house is changing, and it can't be a coincidence." John sighed but couldn't deny the obvious. The house was indeed behaving strangely. The children also started noticing the changes. Sarah found that her bedroom had become larger, and Michael discovered a mysterious basement filled with old toys and strange objects. Over time, the changes became more frightening. New rooms continued to appear, but the interior started becoming increasingly sinister. The wallpaper in the hallways turned dark and grim, the furniture looked old and decayed, and the air was filled with the smell of mold and rot. One night, Lisa woke up to strange noises. She went to check on the children and saw that the hallway had become incredibly long, and the walls were covered with strange, almost living, patterns. Lisa felt a cold shiver run down her spine. "John, wake up. We need to leave this place," she cried as she returned to their bedroom. But when she returned, John was gone. The room had also changed. The walls had narrowed, and the ceiling had become lower. Lisa felt her fear turning into despair. She ran to find the children, but it seemed that the house was deliberately blocking her path, altering corridors and doors. The next day, the family gathered to discuss the strange events. "We have to leave this place," Lisa insisted. "This house is cursed." "We can't just leave," John objected. "We need to figure out what's going on here." But before they could do anything, the house changed again. They found themselves in a new room, the doors of which closed behind them with a dull thud. The walls moved closer, narrowing the space, and the ceiling began to lower, leaving them unable to move. "What's happening?" Sarah screamed, hugging her brother. "We need to find a way out," John said, trying to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Lisa looked at the walls, which seemed alive, moving and breathing. She felt her fear turning into hopelessness. Suddenly, they heard a knock behind the wall, as if someone or something was approaching. "We're not alone here," Lisa whispered, consumed with terror. In a panic, the family began searching for an exit, but the walls kept moving, and the ceiling kept lowering. The space around them grew tighter. The air became heavier, filled with ominous sounds. "John, what do we do?" Lisa asked desperately, holding her children. "I don't know," John admitted, realizing they were trapped. Suddenly, the ceiling completely lowered, and the room became so tight they couldn't move. In the darkness, they heard a horrible sound, as if the walls were creaking and moving closer. "I love you," Lisa whispered, hugging her children. "Everything will be all right." But none of them believed it. They knew the house wouldn't let them go. The last moments of their lives were filled with fear and despair. The house sealed them in, forever consuming them in its terrifying depths. Weeks later, the locals began to notice the Brown house had gone quiet. No one had seen the family, and the house looked abandoned. They decided to check what had happened, but found no one inside. The house stood empty, but anyone who entered felt a strange presence, as if the walls were whispering to them. Only the observant could notice that the house continued to change, new rooms appearing and old ones disappearing. It continued to live its sinister life, keeping the secret of the missing family within its walls.